Welcome to Drivers Talk Radio, hosted by automotive expert and championship-winning race car driver Rick Titus. Join Rick and his team for informative and entertaining discussions geared for automotive enthusiasts and consumers alike. Enjoy in-depth interviews with industry leaders and influencers. Now, originating from its studio headquarters in Las Vegas, it's time for Drivers Talk Radio and your host, Rick Titus.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rick Titus. As you've already heard, this is, in fact, Drivers Talk Radio. In studio today, myself, kind of the host and editor of the program, if you will. Next to me, if you're watching us on your computer, of course, is the producer and co-host of the program, Jay Dalton. How you been?
I'm doing just great, Ricky. Thanks for having me.
You're amped up for this weekend's race in Malaysia, are you?
Of course.
For
it's a Grand Prix.
It's a great. Yeah, I wonder which Mercedes will win it. In any event,
there's a good question.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still pulling for Rosberg. But having said that, and of course Spencer Crick, who's the co-producer and one of our leading technicians on the program. That makes it sound like you have backup, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. I was going to say leading tech. Who am I leading?
Yeah, it's you, tragically. Give yourself a raise. That's all I can tell you. we run on a fairly thin bone here, but that's okay. Hey, we truly appreciate being here. Drivers Talk is brought to you by Kicker, high-performance audio systems, where they simply state, raise your expectations. We thought that was kind of a cocky line until we actually had a demonstration from their group and got a tour of their factory and whatnot. Now I understand why they go that route. Of course, a little later in the program, sponsored by Motorbooks, will be our book club contest, and we'll show you the book that's going to be this week's giveaway. If you go to our Facebook page, click like us, and in fact are the first to answer our very basic true and false question. Nowhere near as technical as they started out, Jay, as we were getting into float levels for Weber carburetors.
We were there to stump people, to make it hard, and that's not the case anymore.
Apparently that proved a good way to discourage participation, so that kind of went away. And then, of course, if you are in the Las Vegas area, a couple of things you need to know. First, we are coming to you from the Shelby American facility. We are actually in the center of their museum. They refer to it as their Heritage Center, quite appropriate given the lineup of cars here. All the significant Cobras and Shelby Mustangs are here, things you want to see. And if you come to this facility, which is just off the Las Vegas Strip, just south of the Mandalay Bay, of course, you can get in for free. The tours are free. This gift shop is open, and you can actually watch them building Shelby Mustangs and Raptor pickups. And they are just getting ready to start production of their 2015 Shelby GT. So a lot going on here. And, of course, if you're in town, we'd appreciate it on Sunday mornings, or if you're a resident, thank you for tuning in. We have the privilege of being on Lotus Broadcasting's what they call The Game on Sunday mornings. That's an ESPN Sports Talk network there. And, of course, we're on at 8 o'clock Sunday mornings, just before all the big game news breaks loose. So 9:20 a.m. is where you can find us when you're here. And, of course, that's where you would hear the show over your car radio if you were in the Las Vegas area. To the other 166 stations, I don't know all your call letters. So, but we can be found. What you're hearing behind us is proof that they are serious here. That's 1,000 horsepower Shelby being tested on the chassis dyno. It almost sends a shrill right down your back of your spine to hear 1,000 horsepower being spun. It is uncomfortable for me to even be near a car tied down on a dyno, putting those kind of numbers down.
That's pretty savage. That sound is 1,000 horsepower being asked to perform under load.
Yeah, and all I can think of is a poor tire whose responsibility it is to get it to the earth. So pretty hard work on that. Of course, we've got a full news program, and we're very, very excited the fact that Elio Motors, we have an update on them. We're actually going to have one of their key sales managers on board this morning for a phone interview from Detroit, and he's going to kind of tell us, some of their breaking news. We've all had our fingers crossed on this one, and apparently it's come true, and of course, kind of give us where they're at in production and where things are headed for Elio Motors. We love this group, and my deposit is in, so I too am looking forward to when the car finally gets produced. It's going to be fun.
We promised to explain to you what an Elio is.
If you don't know.
In segment 3. Yeah. But coming up. We'll save that
one. Be coming up. Got a lot going on. We need to talk about news. Jay, you made a very interesting comment when I said you've seen this about the New York Auto Show. Of course, they'll be introducing 2 new Scions there. And in your comment, unfortunately, though flippant, was quite accurate. That is, Scion still looking for a way to remain relevant in the marketplace.
It was flippant, as we are to one another, but sadly, when Scion came out, it really had quite a big stir. That was when Mr. Farley was in charge of Scion, if you can remember that.
That's
this
right.
was when Toyota was full of Jims. There was Jim Farley, there was Jim Lentz, there was all these Jims were running the show. Well, since their debut, and it wasn't that long ago that Scion came out as a car company, I would say maybe a little over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, it's actually...
It's been
it's deeper into 15, but
maybe 15. It's still short in the automotive context.
Yep.
And this experiment has begun to unravel a little bit as some of their sales have gone down and down and down. They have not exactly penetrated the youth market the way they could have, should have, maybe the way Toyota wanted them to. I can't quite describe their malaise, but they found a malaise in their designs, in the way they brought their product to market. What's your opinion?
Well, first of all, it does have Jim Farley written all over it if you go back to the launch of it, because he is Mr. Technology Cutting Edge, i.e. the plan had been, when the product was first introduced, that young people, the people with no money, the young people would come into the dealership, go up to this kiosk, and they would actually electronically order their vehicle. They could actually spec it out, and it would be delivered very shortly. And it was funny, their target age was really about 22, 23 years of age. That's who they thought they were going to be selling these things to. And every automotive manufacturer, I think, steps on their toes identical to how Mr. Farley stepped on his toes here. They all assume that these guys all have college degrees, disposable income, and they're going to come rushing into dealerships and buy these cars. That has never proven to be the case in any product out there. But once again, they continue to fall for this euphoria that this is how it's going to go. Well, the kiosks all but got nothing but dust collected on them. The average age started out at 44. They've lowered it now to the high point of 30, 38, 39. This was not the demographic, more importantly, the psychographic that they were targeting. And I think, like you, though they build some good product, I mean, it is, after all, a Toyota. It may go by a different name, but it is a Toyota. And they've done a good job. And our own Spencer Crick has one to wit he is extremely satisfied with. And he has a very rare one. You have the only SS known Astrovan. He has the only 4x4 known Scion.
I enjoy my Scion, but I think when Scion first came out, some of their designs were like the first Gen XB. I really liked it. It was a very polarizing car.
Yep.
People either could not stand it or loved it. And if you talk to people who still own those first gens, they don't want to get rid of them. They still run great.
Yeah.
In Japan, that was known as the B-Box. That was what they called it. And
that's basically
it had
how that
quite
was
a following.
Yeah.
Quite a following. And yet, Toyota decided to take the B-Box and make it a little bigger, a little rounder, a little more sophisticated, kind of losing that very element, speaking of Honda element, that very element that captured everybody's imagination in the first place.
I think if Scion wants to get those sales back up, they've got to bring another unique design. I know I could pretty much say that about a lot of car companies.
Just going
to
say that statement has a lot of blanket width.
but it needs something to pull people in there.
They may have done a pretty good shot. I'm sorry, I can't remember all the letters that they call these things. The little sports car. The
FRS?
The FRS, yes, that they share with Subaru. Rear engine, front end.
Everything I read
front
says
engine, rear drive.
But they're disappointed in the sales of that vehicle as well.
Well, that's
and
too bad.
I think kind of wicked looking. I mean,
yes,
that's really a cool looking little piece. And
yes.
And again, Scion's solid product. Toyota obviously was anxious to penetrate that market. Again, that cradle to grave mindset. If we can get you in early, we'll keep you all the way through your lifespan. And unfortunately, it just hasn't proven to be as true as, frankly, I think it deserves to be. And I don't know that there's a whole ton of competition. I guess you could look at the 500. I don't think that's making much of a dent. And of course, Mini certainly has done pretty well. The Beetle, like everything gets larger. Particularly the Asian car companies are very, very guilty of growing everything in girth.
I think the more important question might be, can you capture somebody very young, like with a Chevy Spark,
right,
and move them all the way up to a Cadillac? Do you think that generational, those steps during a generation the generations would actually apply. I don't think it applies anymore. I think there's too many choices.
There are an awful lot of choices, aren't there? So, Spencer, man?
I think as time has worn on, some of that traditional, like the Cadillac is the most sought after, some of that's being lost on the next generation getting older and getting into these cars. So you've got to have something they want and aspire to get to. And looking at Cadillac, maybe the Escalade, but not a whole lot would pull me to keep building into these cars and growing that.
Well, I'll give you an idea, Spencer, and to Jay's point, they're going to introduce in New York, they're going to do the IA and the IM. And it has become Toyota's practice as of late, both with Lexus and with Toyota product and with a Scion, these little quarter shots to leak out these little early photos, but it's just of a small segment of the product.
Now, describe. We're getting this information just a day or two before the New York Auto Show opens,
right.
And I saw other pictures like this. I saw
Lexus
one shown in plan view.
Yep.
In other words, looking straight down at the car. So you can't really tell what the car looks like, but you know it's a car.
It's what their internal PR company is doing to or PR group to start leaking these cars. Based on these leaked photos, I don't think the two cars we're about to see introduced this weekend will in fact be revolutionary or polarizing. I think they're going to continue to follow that line to making them look more sophisticated, more mainstream, and I think that might be easy for us to say, or me to say, and that of course they may be just a little too conservative or contemporary.
Ooh. In other words, you have to design radically now to get everybody's attention.
Let's go back to the original XB.
Are we?
Yeah.
Was the XB a radical design when you first saw it, Spencer?
Oh yeah, and again, super polarizing. People either could not stand it or they loved it,
and that's okay.
Okay, so the follow-up to the XB, if you count the Kia Soul, if you count the Nissan Cube, as you know, go ahead, Rick. Go ahead with your line.
It was iced. The Cube was iced.
But the Kia Soul has done really well for Kia. It is also a fairly radical design. I don't know if you've ever looked at it closely or not, but it does kind of tilt backwards in a way.
I like the Soul.
It's working for Land Rover.
Yeah, it's working real good for Land Rover, for the Evoque in particular.
Yep.
It's that wedge glass
that tapered
shape.
Yeah.
Right now, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom of the glass is not parallel with the top of the glass. There's some wedge in there, and that's the new way that the designers are going.
Interesting to
Ricky,
see the
we're
seat
close
numbers.
here.
Yeah, we got to go to break. Hey, AM/FM listeners, we're going to break right now. Truly appreciate you following the program. Please stick around and join us after the break. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, this is Drivers Talk Radio. Rick Titus, Jay Dalton, and Spencer Crick in studio. I remind you can watch this program on your computer at driverstalkradio.com. And, of course, we archive some of these shows in case we say something so significant. The odds aren't great. So important, even less great. But you can always archive it and go back to that comment that you want to quote us on. What are the odds? You can always email us at info@driverstalkradio as well. Questions, thoughts. We have some very, very bright people. And we've got some announcements coming up here pretty quickly with regard to what we're going to be doing with our website and our blog and tweet and all of that stuff. So we'll get into it. Mr. Dalton, you got some news items you want to share?
I do have some news items. And, Rick, to our audience who may want to go back, this is show 773, by the way.
Oh, good.
If you want to recount when we first told you that your keyboard will be changing on your computer. We were not shy early on in the last decade to bring you words like Bluetooth and explain how Bluetooth would change the automotive world. In fact, change, frankly, everything things in your house are now Bluetooth. Well, we explained that about 14 years ago for the first time when everybody goes, blue what? Well, right now, let's, Ricky, you sent me an email. When you got off the airplane a few days ago, you said, this just came through. Would you like to take a look at it and give me your opinion of it? And I put into my Google, I put in the words cross tap, not really knowing what on earth this was talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
Is this like cross fitness and tap dancing? What the heck is going on? And it's so new that in Google, when you put in cross tap, what you get is a water faucet with an X-shaped handle on it. That's a cross tap.
Gotcha.
That's how far ahead we are on this one. Ready? Just a couple of days ago, the Kickstarter campaign came out to develop a brand new keyboard for your computer, and for your phone to get away from the 150-year-old QWERTY keyboard that was developed when the typewriter was developed. Now, what on earth does this have to do with cars? Well, part of the reason why it's being developed is that this is going to be a keyboard, 9 buttons involved for your left thumb, 9 buttons involved for your right thumb, and you can spell any word that you want. This guy has figured out how to do it, and he's beginning to now roll the prototypes out. Now, here's the question for you. I don't want people writing on their steering wheels. I don't. I know the nature of this to change the keyboard is so that you can type without looking on a smooth surface. In other words, you just know where to go with it. And I promise you, the keyboards will be changing, and kids that come along will know nothing more than a new style keyboard. But really, do you want a teenager deciding how to spell serendipity going through the intersection while they're typing?
This is just so bloody awful. Really hate this idea. Frankly, I don't understand why we have anything beyond a common blade and a Phillips blade screwdriver. Of course, unless you reverse engineer it, realize it was all about a new way to make money by forcing people to buy new tools. And that's how I feel about this new keyboard thing. And I particularly don't think this is, and I hope, I can't believe I'm about to say this, I hope the feds put a squash on this right away, because quite frankly, and I don't generally invite the feds to anything, except maybe a sacrifice, but short of that, we do not need this driver distraction.
The National, I think we found the line.
Yep.
You know, driver distraction inside of the car.
Yep.
Spencer, I'm anxious to get your opinion of this. Have we found the line with typing on your steering wheel?
Yes. Are you kidding me? That your brain, I know you're still kind of looking out, but your brain's focused on working on that keyboard. You're focused on typing whatever it is you're doing. You're not paying attention to anything developing everywhere. Come on.
Your cognition is actually spelling at that stage and not looking for the truck pulling out on the side road and so forth. Nevertheless, the keyboards will change. We're now going through this ordeal of voice activated. You know, you've seen this before, where you can send an email by voice in your phone, in your car, and so forth. Yeah. That's not really the best way to do it. But I think the idea of anything beyond voice is the line where the government has to step in. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, this is
my opinion.
This is not good stuff. You know, boy, I'm not a fan of this whole new idea. But it'll make somebody a lot of money and kill a whole bunch of people, and the people with the money won't care. So,
what do you got there? What's coming down the road?
Guess what? They're saying, and this is kind of interesting, that they're stepping up and doing this. They're saying the 2016 Camaro is going to be all new. And all new. Now, I don't know, does that take it right down to platform? Because you and I both know that was built off the Holden platform out of Australia. The actual shape of it was a challenge for the designers to do something that harkened back to original shape, particularly in the C-B pillar area and a little bit in the nose. That was tricky to fit that on the platform that came from Holden. But now they're saying that they're ready for a Gen 5 Camaro and prepared to make significant changes. This will be very, very interesting to see if they can pull this off.
As they say, they're changing the hard points, aren't they, in the chassis? That's the expensive part, isn't it?
That's the internal language that most of them work so hard to avoid, because that gets pricey in a very big hurry, because the hard points mean the stamping tooling is now junk, and you're back to square one, essentially.
Well, you know what? They took the hard points of the Holden and kind of bent a Camaro around it, if you remember.
Yep.
And they had a heck of a hard time around the roofline area and getting enough height and crushability and what to do with side impact and so forth. That was a real struggle for them. So, hey, if they can start with a clean sheet of paper and they've got the money, maybe they should do it. Apparently, they're selling very, very well at the moment. They gave Mustang a run for their money before the new one came out. And now it's really, I think General Motors knows they have to respond to the new Mustang.
Yeah, I guess to get a new party going. Here's a celebration I didn't think we were going to have. Now, I happen to know you're a long-time Lotus fan. You've certainly had them in your background. Lotus Elise celebrates 20 years. Almost hard to imagine. I don't know what you'll do about this, but there will be a special edition Elise based on the Elise S Club Racer, including the Elise color schemes. They're going to try and make this car special again. This is largely to generate some attention for it.
You got to explain this to me. They stopped selling those cars because they couldn't meet crash worthiness and so forth. Well, these must be just club racer cars.
They
right?
are club, and that's the only way you can sell them now, is basically as a track car. And they're even going to take one that's they're going to make one that's even more competitive as a club racer, and that's going to be faster and lighter, and that's the Club S Elise as well. Again, these are not cheap cars, but for those people, and it's a growing market, Jay, who own track-specific cars that you literally store at a racetrack as these country club racetracks become more and more popular. I was just at one the other day. It was amazing. Had a clubhouse, had a restaurant, had all these special garages, had homes being built along the back straight with helicopter landing pads and hangars. This whole clubhouse thing for racing, for guys that don't want to go wheel to wheel necessarily, but want the opportunity to take their toys out and slide them around.
So this is a deal. This is like buying a house on a golf course.
You're exactly right. This is
wow,
or if you will, the old airport, General Aviation Airport thing. These aero parks that used to exist and still do, but not built at nearly the rate that we are now seeing these clubhouse organizations.
What do you call that? Do you call that a private circuit, or what do you call that? I wonder.
They are private. Trust me, I
private racetracks.
I just met, and they rent them out to different organizations from time to time, but mostly it's available for the club members to have their time on the track by themselves and play as they want to play. Of course, the one I just went to is also one of the homes for the Ron Fellows Corvette Racing School. He might call it the Advanced Driving School, and then, of course, a racing portion of that. I was shocked at their inventory of Corvettes and Chevrolet product overall. This is out in Pahrump, called Spring Mountain Raceway. That is a country club environment. If I had not known the right person, I would not have even been allowed through the gate.
My goodness.
They took it quite seriously, actually. And compared to what you and I are used to, racetracks looking like, Willow Springs still being the standard bearer for how things have not progressed much, this thing looks pretty cool. I mean, they've spent some money here, and these clubhouse tracks, these private membership tracks, country club racetracks, continue to really raise the bar on how a racetrack can appear.
It would seem to me if you could combine that with general aviation, either helicopter or light aircraft,
which is what they're doing.
Wow. What a combination.
They've got a runway for them, and now they're building these homes out there. And I'm not trying to pick on Pahrump, but really, is there any other reason to be out there?
Unless you have a black stealth helicopter,
right?
Isn't that where all the stealth helicopters hang out? I always heard there was aliens out in Pahrump.
Oh, that's right. Area 51 spin-offs.
Area 51 stuff.
There you go.
Can I remind you of one other thing that you just talked about before we got started on the show, and that we're sitting in the Shelby Heritage Museum. Mm-hmm. Are they going to be able to rent this out on occasion?
And you know what? We are going to bring you how that breaks down. Yes, special, good thing to bring up, by the way. Yeah, this area, and depending if you want some cars moved out, some cars to stay, all the cars out, all the heritage photos stay up, and they're huge. And of course, the videos will run if you want them to. This is all rentable as a banquet space, as a meeting space, depending on what you'd like to accomplish. I really, what a great location for this kind of stuff. A, it's in Las Vegas. B, it's just off the strip. It's like next door to the airport, for crying out loud. And what a setting.
I had some friends that got married at the Peterson Museum. They moved some cars aside and got married up in the top of the Peterson Museum.
Kidding.
And I'm thinking, if you're a car guy, this is it. This is Nirvana. You found it.
Yeah, she better be a car gal. Hey, we're going to break right now. Appreciate you being with us. Please join us after the break. And welcome back to Driver's Talk. Rick Titus, Jay Dalton, and of course Spencer Crick. You know, if you've followed this show for much, you know there's one particular startup car company that we have paid a lot of attention to. A, because we believe in them, and B, because we love the product, and C, quite candidly, because we consider them close personal friends as we have gotten to know them. Having said that, if you're a fan of the Elio or have not heard of this three-wheel vehicle that is frankly going to revolutionize a new portion of the industry, in our opinion, we've been watching this startup startup company, and it's so funny because, Jay, we get press releases all the time. I have 6 with me today of companies who want to start up and get in the car business. And it's been fun for me to talk to the people from Elio saying, not as easy as it first appears, huh? But the commitment here has been amazing. The following here is huge. And, of course, we have the good fortune of not only becoming close friends with, but direct contact with Jerome Vasallo, who is the Vice President of Sales for Elio, and one dedicated cat, because this poor boy hasn't seen his home much, been out on the road introducing people to a very different concept for a vehicle. We're talking to Jerome into a rather nippy Detroit today. Jerome, thanks for taking the time, my friend. We always appreciate the check-in.
Oh, thanks for having me on today.
I love you as a friend, and frankly, we love the company. Let's talk about it. I think the first thing I got to jump in on, Bud, is when you told me you were going to a NASCAR race to show them an Elio, and I'm thinking, water and vinegar here. What are we thinking here? Water and oil, rather. Jerome, how did that go? Talk about that.
That was a fantastic event, and we all had preconceived ideas of what a NASCAR event might be.
Yep.
I had been to a couple living down in Tennessee. We've gone over to Bristol and things like that. My involvement in motorsports is more on a road course rather than an oval, so it was interesting. But the turnout was really everything was laid out to us to be. And I got to tell you, the temperatures were in the 30s in Atlanta. I don't know why that happens, but when we were there, the temperatures were in the 30s and the crowds were excited, warm, and happy.
Ooh, now you chose Atlanta for a very important reason, didn't you? That's kind of become the electric car capital of the South. Now, yours is not an electric car, but they're certainly open to new ideas, aren't they?
Well, and that's a great point. The Elio appeals to folks on a lot of different levels, and we can talk about that in more detail. But, once people open up their minds to a new concept, a new form of transportation, then it's easier to introduce new ideas to them. So, yeah, Atlanta was a good fit for us at this time, for sure.
Well, but I want to touch on something you just said, because this is not a quirky or gimmicky vehicle. This is a very serious piece of transportation. There are companies attempting to introduce the quirky or the weird, or you might use it one day a week. This is a vehicle being designed to be driven, to be used, and to actually save you money, not only the purchase price, but it's on its use. Jerome, maybe I'm not doing it justice. This is a three-wheel vehicle with a 3-cylinder engine of your own design, of your company's own design. Let's talk about that. Would you like to describe this vehicle differently than I just did?
No, I think you did a great job.
Well, thank you.
But it is. It's going to be America's new commuter, in a lot of other senses as well. But when you think about it, this vehicle is going to get 84 miles to the gallon on pure gasoline only. No hybrid, no electric, nothing like that. Just pure gasoline. And as you know, we're pretty good at the gasoline engine by now, so we're happy with where we stand. It'll achieve the highest automotive safety standards. It's fitted with a roll cage, airbags that cover every window, automotive controls, ABS, traction stability control, everything you would expect in a modern automobile. And it does use automotive controls, like I said. So, the familiarity of it should be easy for people. When you get in it, you're actually sitting in the center of the vehicle, which will be new for a lot of folks. But I have to tell you, Rick, when you get in it, it's a natural driving position. You wonder how you learn to drive on one side of the car.
It takes about a block to get used to, and frankly, I think it's going to help some people's driving, if you want the truth. Jay's got a point.
Yes, I don't think we can hurt a lot of the folks
driving. The important thing for me is people might mistake this for a motorcycle.
Good point.
And really, it has, your words were very profound. It has automotive controls. So let's get the idea of a motorcycle and just put that away. Jerome, I understand that there's a new classification coming out that they're trying to determine right now, and it's the Autocyle classification. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Correct. Well, thanks to Senator Vitter, he's proposed legislation that will classify the Elio as it stands as an autocycle. Now, that would be a sort of a subcategory of the motorcycle. For those that don't know, the federal government determines or has determined that anything less than 4 wheels is a motorcycle. So we automatically fit in that category. Now it's time to narrow that down and see if we can define the Elio a little bit better. So the category will consist of automotive controls, seat belts, airbags, and and a roll cage. So it's pretty specific. Now, I don't know, we all know when we introduce things, things can change and compromises are made, but that is the legislation proposed as written. So we're really excited about it. It'll give us our own classification. Now we can get busy doing the things standardized across all 50 states that we'd like to do.
All right, there's a couple of three advantages to that. First of all, let me help people. First of all, you need to go to eliomotors.com, and that's ELIO motors.com to get a look at this. And there's a lot of running video. There's a lot of still photos. They've showed you some of the different prototypes through the development. Spencer and I have had the good fortune of driving the vehicle when you guys brought it here to Las Vegas. It's a front-wheel drive vehicle, 2 wheels in the front, and fairly well back because you've got 2 passengers in this enclosed cockpit, air-conditioned, and heated vehicle. It actually has a wheel in the rear. So it's a 3-wheel vehicle, and what most physics experts will tell you is the best dynamic setup, and that is the triangle running backwards. It might be tempting to put 1 wheel in the front, but real true stability comes from having 2 wheels in the front, 1 wheel in the rear, and the passengers are sitting on a center line. You touched on the fact that you do sit in the center of this vehicle. Now, as a Formula car racer, that's very natural to me, and it only took about a block to be, well, this is how it should be, quite frankly. I think it's going to help people drive it. But I will tell you, before we make it all sound like Nevada, make it all sound like heaven, I will tell you the one inherent drawback was the first thing I complained to Jerome about when I got back. When you get to an intersection at a stoplight, no one will go when it turns green until you do because they all want to look at it. This thing is an attention getter. I think in part because of the colors, but in all fairness, Jerome, because of the shape, it's very aerodynamic. It's definitely striking, and people have never seen anything like this before.
Well, really, I wasn't sure whether they were looking at you or the Elio. I wasn't sure. I think.
Come on, we're good friends. We're good friends. You know it wasn't me.
But yeah, it is an attention getter. In fact, we were just in New York City again a few weeks ago, and once again we stopped up the avenue. So we were on 6th Avenue, headed out on the street for folks to look at and things like that, and we also had it on Times Square and. Actually, traffic came to a standstill with between the taxis taking pictures of the vehicle.
That's
and
funny.
2 vans taking pictures. So, yeah, it's an attention getter, that's for sure.
Jerome, may I ask just a couple of questions? I bet you get asked
Sure.
every single day, but our audience may not know these answers. First, will it require a helmet?
That is part of the legislation that's being proposed as well. But we have been working on this for over 2 years, going state by state, requiring helmets. States that require helmets. The last number officially we had was 5 states still require them. But my understanding is there's legislation in front of Mississippi that passed both the House and the Senate to remove the helmet and the motorcycle endorsement requirement, and it's sitting on the governor's desk, and we expect that to go ahead hopefully very soon.
Okay, that's great
we got
news.
A little pre-announcement on that.
That's great news. Will it require a motorcycle license?
That's what you just saying. The endorsement would be off.
Yeah, once again, that depends on the state. The federal government determined it as a motorcycle. Now, each state can determine what that means to them, whether you need a helmet or a special endorsement.
Okay.
But we plan, going forward, we'll work state by state to eliminate that. That is part of the bidder legislation as well, so to make that a universal mandate. So
and
we'll see how that works.
And for moms out there who are thinking of this as a commuter car, do you think there's going to be a latch system, a baby seat system in the rear of this vehicle?
Yes, absolutely. We've integrated latch into the vehicle. In fact, our president and CEO, Paul Elio, has small children, so that was not going to be left out of the vehicle. That will be standard equipment.
Now, let's get into the hard numbers because there are so many people pulling for this car. You have a lot of deposits, mine included, that I think put you somewhere in the last I heard about the 35,000 pre-order situation. How are those numbers doing?
Well, I guess we need to talk more because we're approaching about 41,000.
41,000.
We cleared 40,000 on our way to 41,000.
I'm not going to get this thing for 3 years. Let's talk about production. You've put together a very interesting deal down south. Let's talk about what's going to be happening.
Well, and that's a good story. Made in America is something that's one of our 4 tenets, that the vehicle must be made here in America. And you'd be very surprised at the pushback we got from unknown legislators saying, "Why aren't you just building this in China?" And I think we've probably gone through a generation of training on to produce it somewhere else, bring it here, right? And that has to stop. We're literally watching wealth pour out of our country when we do that. We're trying to keep it here and provide American jobs. So it will be located down in Shreveport, Louisiana. I like to think of it as a huge recycling project. It was the former GM plant down there. We're recycling it into Elio, and others are going to be using it as well. So, yeah, we're very excited about it.
We come back from break, Jerome. Obviously, we want to talk about where you stand on the production version, finished pieces, the way you're handling the accessories for this vehicle. Just so many exciting things. More with Jerome Vasallo when we get back and talking about Elio. Going to go to break right now, AM/FM listeners. Be right back. And welcome back to Driver's Talk. Rick Titus, Jay Dalton, and Spencer Crick, and our special friend from Elio Motors, Jerome Vasallo, who is the Vice President of Sales for Elio, the product. And you need to go to Elio Motors, ELIO Motors.com. See this revolutionary three-wheel vehicle due to come to market in, well, I won't even answer that question, Jerome. You know people are biting at the bit. When do you see the first production cars actually rolling out?
Well, Paul has announced the middle of 16, first half of 16, so we're excited about it. In fact, we've offered, you can check our website out as well, we had another tab, to help people get involved. As you know, the biggest thing keeping us from there is what we call the F word, the other F word, Spencer, that's funding.
Yeah.
Funding. And,
Yep.
And we've got new plans to get there, so they're out on our website. I'll take a look when you get a chance. But I also wanted to let you know the dyno. That's a big portion of this. And
Very
I know
good point.
something that gets Rick really excited is dynos.
Yep.
The dyno test, the initial test has been completed, and they're in the process now of tearing the engine back down. As you know, you hate to do that, but you really have to.
Yep.
Tearing that little gem down and seeing if it wore in the correct spots, if there's any burn marks, those typical things we do. So far, it looks really, really good, real promising. So,
Well, let me ask you a technical question with regarding to doing the engine dyno work, and I know this is part of your durability testing on the vehicle. What do you think the simulated miles were put on that engine?
I don't know. I asked the question, and I didn't get an answer back because they want to take it down and put it back on, tear it down, put it back on, and start running some durability testing as well. So there's so many phases to dyno,
Yep.
Especially when you create an engine from scratch.
Right.
It's not like they're borrowing this or borrowing that. This is a purpose-built engine designed specifically for the Elio.
Water-cooled, Jerome?
It is.
Good.
It is.
Well, Spencer, you had a
water-cooled.
question. Yep.
All automotive components as well. It's just, once again, similar to the way the whole Elio project has gone.
And we can
It's
see
not any one component. It's how you put them all together
Good point.
that makes the difference.
Spencer, you had a question?
and we can see that engine on YouTube being tested, right?
Yes. And it sounds great, by the way. I asked the boys if they had added any bass to it. You know what I mean? No, it really sounded that good. So
Jerome,
take a listen. It sounds
for
good.
the moment, all the initial prototypes have been developed right there in Detroit. You're in Detroit. I assume that's not a coincidence. Well, what brings you to the rather nippy Northeast, as we refer to it out here in Las Vegas?
Paul told me I had to come.
Welcome to my world. Welcome to my world.
Other than that, we're getting ready for what we consider to be the big dance. We're going to participate in the New York Auto Show this year. So we brought P4 in for a little mop and glow,
Gotcha.
shine and all that stuff. So it looks really good. It's in tip-top shape. We're getting ready to leave on Saturday to go set up at the Javits Center in New York City.
Man, I hope the snowstorms are done, buddy. I know the kind of miles you're putting in. Like you said during break, 68,000 miles a year, living now in a motorhome. And, of course, I know you've got your pet doggy with you and your lovely wife, who's just a sweetheart of a person. Good combination, but that's a long time out on the road there, buddy.
It is. The 5 days we're home a year is when you make your wardrobe selection. So now we're going to make our selection based on some pretty cold weather.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do my best to avoid cold weather for the rest of the year.
I think that would be nothing but good news. When do we get to see you again out here on the West Coast, my friend?
I've got it on the calendar, Rick, but I don't have it in front of me. I apologize.
No problem.
I should know that. But we will definitely be in Las Vegas very soon.
I sure hope so, because we'd love to stage another event here. As our followers probably don't know this, but Elio put on an event right here where a lot of the people who had deposits or interest in the vehicle could come by Shelby American. They set up a little booth outside, had the car out there, and it was their first chance to actually touchy-feely sit in and get to know the people from Elio, who are just a great team of people. The president of the company and inventor, and that, of course, is Paul Elio, is just a sweetheart of a guy, very, very determined, and it's been fun to watch their progress as a collective team learn about getting into this business, Jay.
I have to congratulate Jerome on your job, on the job you're doing. This is the most exposed startup car I have ever seen in my life.
Yep.
You've gotten 41,000 hand raisers putting their money forward.
Yep.
This is, Jerome, what a fantastic job you guys have been doing. I can't wait for the car.
Thank you very much. We've got a team of incredibly energetic and exciting folks. In fact, my years are nowhere near there, so I look at them as an inspiration to just keep pushing, and it's working. The entire executive staff of the company, everybody is just committed to getting this rolled out. And, you know, with today's social media, you can read so much positive and negative. But it's important to stay focused, and this team really is focused.
Done a great job. And let me tell you a little bit about that team. You know, those of you who watch this show know that recently my wife passed, and Spencer's mother. Spencer's my stepson. And the support that I got from Elio, and in particular Pam and Jerome specifically, it did nothing but bond us, because he calls just to check in. They just want to know where you're at, or, hey, why don't you come out here with us and we'll spend a little time on the road together. And they become genuine friends. So beyond caring about the car and being impressed professionally at what this team's been able to do and the effort that's gone into making this happen, these are genuinely nice people who really care about people. And, you know, Jerome has done prayers with me over the phone. I mean, that kind of dedication just doesn't happen, Jay. You don't find people like this very often. So, Jerome, you know we love you guys, and you know we're pulling for you, and this show is always here for you. We know we're not the biggest network you get to be on. You've been in all the majors. We're this little radio station, that does its best to stir the pot. And you guys have just been great supporters of us, and hopefully you feel the same way about us.
Oh, we definitely do. And Pam wanted me to tell you that we have a little bribe for you to get us come with us for a little bit. She said she bought something called Fig Newtons. I'm not sure how that'll fit, but she bought a whole box of them for you. So if that works, we'll try that.
That's a strong motivator, my friend. Let me go to the Middle East and come back. Fig Newtons may look like Nirvana to me, maybe an oasis. So having said that, my friend, hey, we love you. Please give Pam a hug for us, and we are going to continue to send our listeners to your website, and I look forward to talking to you the next few days.
Great. Love you guys, too, and thanks for having us on.
All right, buddy. Talk to you real soon. Be safe. That said, folks, you got to go to eliomotors.com. This car is revolutionary. They are dead serious about making it. 5-star safety rating, air conditioning, heat, 84 miles a gallon, $7,000 purchase price. And wait till you see how cleverly they've broken the accessories down and their very, very clever payment plan. It turns out the gas hog you're driving now, well, the difference in that will be your payment. Very, very clever. I love what these guys are doing. So good stuff going on there. Jay, other news. I guess we should talk about the book.
We've got a book to give away, hey, why don't you do that now? And I've got one little piece of racing news to throw.
You got it. Of course, sponsored by Motor Books. We have, of course, our book club. You go to our Facebook page, click like us, be the first to answer the true false, and boy, they couldn't get more basic than this puppy question, and you can win this book. It's a coffee table book about the hot rod world of Robert Williams. Now, a lot of you may not know who this guy is, but this is a very, very famous industry illustrator who does hot rod interpretations for a lot of the key hot rod magazines. He's got his own books out. Of course, this is another one of those. And I tell you what, the illustration work in here and the things he's done and the people he's met and places he's been as a result of his involvement and the kind of hot rods he's been around. Very, very special book. A lot of fun to read. And, of course, we love giving this one away because it's very, very popular.
How do you win that again?
You go to our Facebook page. And, of course, Spencer, that address, how do you find us?
Just search for Drivers Talk Radio on Facebook.
Okay, that's all you got to do.
And like us.
Be that, well, as the last electronics man on the earth, not the last man on earth, the TV show, but the last electronics-oriented man on earth. I never go there, but having said that, answer the true-false question, be first to do so, boom, the book will be on its way to you, sponsored by Motorbooks. By the way, you got to go to motorbooks.com. You talk about selection, gift ideas, wow, place just rocks. What you got, Mr. Dalton?
Racing news, we always touch on a little bit of racing news.
Yes.
I have to acknowledge
here we go.
That Corvette won Sebring
Yep.
50 years after the Chevrolet Chaparral won Sebring, 50 years to the day. And in fact, I understand that the entire podium was Chevrolet-oriented
All Chevrolet.
Daytona prototypes.
Yeah, it went well between the Daytona prototypes and, of course, the Corvette in its own class. And I got to tell you, one of the best 12-hour races we've seen in a long time, because it came down, it was last lap stuff in every class. I mean, the Porsche that thought it was going to win its class spun with just a few laps to go. Another car got by. That car broke just in time for this guy to go ahead and reclaim first place. It was just so many thrilling finishes. The coverage was great. And I got to say, the Fox camera work has been spectacular this year. By far and away, their coverage of things has just been the best we've ever seen.
It might be worth noting that the next time you can catch this is on Saturday, April 18th. That's their next broadcast. It comes out of Long Beach. Long Beach,
Yep.
the Grand Prix circuit, or
Yep. The IndyCar circuit.
Sorry,
Yeah.
the last time I was there, it was a
It was
Grand
the Formula
Prix
One
circuit.
race, yeah. Well, not
I
anymore.
never missed a Formula One race in Long Beach. It was
Nope.
fantastic. But those were a long time ago.
Right.
Long Beach is now hosting what's called the Tudor United Sports Car Championship. It's going to be on Fox Sports. I believe it may be 3 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific time, 6 Eastern.
Time. Whoops. Sounds about right.
We've got a
Busy signal.
What? Oh.
well,
No, you do. I'm fine.
Okay, good to know. Good.
okay.
Good,
The
good.
show's fine.
All right.
We're okay.
All right.
And Jay, we've watched that race has, since its inception, has really helped the city evolve too. Long Beach was a little run down when that race first came. There was a Formula 5000 race, and now look at the quality of that city and that waterfront.
It was a lot run down.
Okay, I was being polite.
And
Because I was pretty hard on them last week.
let's be real fair.
Yeah.
Chris Pook,
Yep.
who was the original organizer of the Long Beach Grand Prix, along with Dan Gurney at the
Gurney.
time,
Yep.
took something that sounded like a wild pipe dream, something that sounded like you wrote it out on the back of a napkin on a bar.
Several drinks in.
Several drinks in. And suddenly, here's this man who had real skills.
Yes.
Chris Pook put on a heck of a show
Yep.
for years and years and years. And now it's arguably, it is one of the things that Long Beach can call their own.
Oh, they should.
Along with the Queen Mary and
Yep.
so forth, that is permanently.
And how that
there.
waterfront has changed, and how modern condos and great restaurants, and it's just spectacular. It's highly polished. It's beautiful. They've got their own art center there. They've got their own museums there. They've got an aquarium there now.
It's what they dreamed of all along.
All along.
And
And
I
this
don't think
race
that
helped-
Grand Prix hurt one bit.
No. I rather suspect it helped a great deal. Well, there you have it. We'd love to give you about 27 pounds of show. Unfortunately, you only have an 11-pound bag. We apologize for the mess, but we sure appreciate you being with us. My name is Rick Titus. This is Drivers Talk Radio, and we wish you open roads and safe motoring.